Cooper, Mr. Dyke, and Mr. Genesi from the meeting for their prior commitments.
Any discussion on the motion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Crawford.
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Hardy.
Yes.
Martino.
Yes.
Okay, next on the agenda, can we approve the minutes before? Can we do a motion to approve minutes?
Yeah.
Okay. Chair would entertain a motion to approve the regular meeting minutes of November 12th, 2019.
Mayor, I move that we approve the minutes as written for the regular meeting of November 12th, 2019.
Any discussion on the motion? Will the clerk please call the roll?
Martino.
Yes.
Crawford.
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Hardy.
Yes. Okay, moving on, audience comments. Citizens can step to the podium. You've got a 3-minute time limit. Please state your name and address for the record.
Steve Fisher, 214 Ohio Street, Huron. $20 million lawsuit is a joke that isn't funny. Years back, I was involved in a situation I accepted the responsibility for, even though it was an accident. I said it would pay all the expenses up front, which totaled $3,000 to $4,000. Next thing I knew, I received a letter in the mail from a dishonest attorney, who, by the way, still is practicing law in Sandusky, stating that they were suing me for $250,000, $250,000. To make a long story short, my attorney, who represented our insurance company, offered to settle with them for $9,000. But after seeing how dishonest they were, withdrew the offer, took them to court, where we won. You should tell OPC, who, as I see, who just changed their name now, that really sounds official. Their actions stink like their products. That's going to be nothing more than a glorified pot shop. You can get medical marijuana at a local pharmacy if needed. Also, I saw last week there has been a 400% increase in children marijuana poisoning in Colorado. No state that has legalized marijuana can claim financial success at this time. $20 million lawsuit. Really nice people to deal with. My regret is I didn't pursue this harder. Doesn't belong in Huron. God bless Huron. Have a nice Thanksgiving, you and your family.
Thank you, Mr. Fisher. Anyone else? Okay. Moving on to old business. Ordinance 2019-25. You do a reading or?
Yes, I'll do a reading. Ordinance number 2019-25, an ordinance amending sections 189.02 definitions, 189.03 imposition of tax, 189.07 statement and charge of tax, and 189.08 registration, all of chapter 189 lodging tax of the City of Huron codified ordinances.
Any discussion?
Just to reiterate the discussion we had at the work session, I think there was substantive policy initiatives put forth. The law director has kept a tally on those. We'll try to incorporate them into the existing legislation for consideration at an upcoming meeting. But I felt that we answered a lot of questions and provided some additional input that would be beneficial to full adoption consideration, potentially at the 10th meeting.
Okay. Moving on to new business. I'll make the motion to set the date and time for the regular organizational meeting of Huron City Council for next Monday, December 2nd, 2019 at 5:30 p.m. Any discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Hardy.
Yes.
Martino.
Yes.
Crawford.
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Okay. Next one is a motion to change the date for the last meeting of the calendar year from December 24th to December 30th at 5:30 p.m. Ms. Crawford.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to move that we reschedule the last meeting of 2019 from December 24th to Monday, December 30th at 5:30 p.m.
Any discussion on that motion? Will the clerk please call the roll.
Crawford.
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Cardy.
Yes.
Martino.
Yes.
Okay, next under new business is a motion referring rezoning request submitted by Mr. Gary Savage to the planning commission.
Mayor, I move that we refer the rezoning request submitted by Gary Savage to the planning commission.
Any discussion on that motion? Will the clerk please call the roll?
Jones.
Yes.
Cardy.
Yes.
Martino.
Yes.
Crawford.
Yes.
And we need a motion to go into public hearing for the next one, or we'll just say we're there?
Yep.
Okay, next item on the agenda is the public hearing for the 2020 proposed municipal budget. Mr. White or Mr. Swayze, would you like to comment to get the ball rolling?
Finance director, go ahead.
No, I just wanted to say thanks to all the department heads, the leadership and council, and especially the finance committee. I know there's all the members, there was a lot of time to sit through all the budget discussion, and I really want to thank the committee chair, Chuck Norton, who actually called into some meetings when he was out in the middle of the mountains, I believe, just to listen into the presentation. So that shows the dedication from not only the council members, but also from the volunteer members. That also includes Kevin Kiefer, Larry Lehman, Randy Dwyer, and I'm missing someone. And Chuck Norton would be the committee chair. So I want to thank them and thank all the department heads for all of their input into this budget. But just for a quick background on the budget, this is a very detailed budget, as I know whoever was able to read through most, if not all of it. One of the most comprehensive budgets I think that's been done here in the city. And I really do encourage any council member or even the public that maybe has not gone back and looked at the audio or read through some of the budget book, to go back and listen to some of the finance committee meetings and the audio, especially the first couple where we talk about governmental accounting and the city's fund structures and why the budget is laid out the way it is. I think those were very important meetings, and I feel like I know Mr. Jones and Ms. Crawford were there. Hopefully can vouch for that those were very hopefully easy to follow. So the budget does include the city's financial policies, the whole budget process, which includes also the general fund reserve policy, our newest purchasing policy, and the city's legal level control. And I feel like that's the biggest piece with this appropriation measure that is on tonight's agenda, which I know won't be passed until next meeting potentially, is that you'll see the appropriation measure is going to look a little different than it has in the past. In the past, the appropriation measure was passed at the fund level. And really, the Ohio Revised Code, I think there was inconsistencies there with the way it was passed in the past. And that council should be passing the appropriation measure at the fund level, and then for the general fund at the department and object level. So the object level being at the salaries and benefits level of the general fund for the police department, or other expenses within the police department. So that's why your appropriation measure looks a little different. So going forward, and I will explain this as we go along in 2020, the reason why there are budget measure adjustments the way they are, the way they look. So council really is approving the budget at the personnel services level for, let's say, the fire department and Fund 214. So any budget transfers within 214, within wages, the administration can make those transfers. If the fire department has excess budget and overtime, and they're gonna have a deficit in full-time wages. So those specific line items, we can make that transfer rather than waiting for the next meeting to get council's approval on that. So it'll look a little different going forward, but it'll be explained each meeting why we're doing the transfers that we're doing. So that is a big piece, I think that's different. And then also items in front of council for consideration, which is included in the city manager's memo, includes, which we had a conversation today at work session, is bed tax expansion, any potential water rate increases, garbage increases, creation of two particular funds, which is one's on the agenda for tonight, is Fund 655, Enterprise Fund. And then also discussed at the Finance Committee was combining the Parks and Recreation into one fund to more consistently account for the current operations with the structure of the Parks and Recreation Department. Some additional ask for 2020 that was initially included in the 2020 budget, but then as we went through the process and with most recent legal opinion on Fund 655, that we will consider next year and will come back to council are a few FTEs in the police department and potential FTEs with the full-time street employees or potential service director / engineer. So those were all discussed during the finance committee and through the administration, but right now those are not included in the budgets, but as we go through next year, if there's a recommendation that we brought forward to council. So that's all I have to add, the main points from the budget. I don't know if Andy, you feel anything else?
No, that was well stated.
Anyone else? Anyone else from the audience like to comment or ask questions regarding the 2020 proposed municipal budget? Okay, hearing none, we're back in regular session. The chair will entertain a motion for the first reading to adopt the 2020 budget. Scott.
Mr. Mayor, I would like to place ordinance 2019-27 on its first reading, the adoption of the 2020 budget.
Discussion on the motion. Can the clerk please call the roll?
Crawford. Yes. Jones.
Yes.
Hardy.
Yes.
Martino.
Yes.
Ordinance number 2019-27, an ordinance making appropriations for the current expenses and other expenditures of the city of Huron, Ohio during the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2020.
Anything else you want to add we forgot, Mr. Swayze?
I think the only thing I would add to the conversation is obviously we don't have the legislative authority to approve this tonight, which will pass this back into the next council's lap after December 2nd, 2019. So we'll have to wait.
Okay, moving on. The chair will entertain a motion for the first reading to establish a new fund, number 655, Community Infrastructure Fee Fund. Mr. Aquino.
I move that resolution 2019-71 be placed on its first reading.
By nine. It's 29. Yes. You're right. Any discussion on that motion? Will the clerk please call the roll?
Martino.
Yes.
Crawford.
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Hardy.
Yes.
Ordinance number 2019-29, an ordinance establishing Fund number 655, Community Infrastructure Fee Fund, and declaring an emergency.
Procedurally, again, we don't have the votes to carry this through. I would like to point out the conversation we had toward the end of the work session whereby staff has requested consideration of 2 items to be placed on the the organizational meeting that we set for Monday the 2nd at 5:30. Ordinance 2019-29 and Resolution 2019-71, which I'll discuss next, are both requested to be placed on that for emergency adoption with the full body. I'll defer to Mr. Schwaisgood, but just generally speaking, the establishment of Fund 655 is to allow for the segregation of proceeds between electrical sales to Mucci Farms, who I know is in attendance this evening, and allow the city to reconcile its accounts with state auditor requests by the end of the year so that we make absolutely certain that the account methodologies that we're using for the placement of these funds is appropriate. We need to do that before the end of the year. Corey, you got anything else you want to add to that?
No, the only thing I'll add is that the creation of the fund does not mean that we can spend out of the fund. It has to be appropriated, budget and revenue. So the creation of the fund at Monday's meeting is just one step in this process to be able to utilize this fund in December of 19.
Thank you.
Moving on, the chair will entertain a motion for the first reading for Resolution 2019-71.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Jones.
I move that resolution 2019-71 be placed on its first reading.
Any discussion on that motion? Can the clerk please call the roll?
Jones.
Yes.
Hardy.
Yes.
Martino.
Yes.
Crawford.
Yes.
Resolution number 2019-71, a resolution authorizing the city manager to enter into an agreement with the State of Ohio Department of Transportation relating to LPA federal local LET program funding in an amount not to exceed $832,086.20 out of $100 relating to the US 6 paving project Phase 1, ERI-6-17.52 PID 100421.
Mr. White?
Mayor and Council, this is also going to be requested for consideration on the second. This is purely a function of timing. I can defer to Mr. Green, but as you'll know from the summary, there are several $100,000 of grant funds eligible for the city. We need to produce this legislation for Phase 1 of the project, which will start at the east corporate limits and run west to Williams. This again is Phase 1. That will begin in the spring of 2020. So while you can't take action on this evening, it is prudent that it be considered prior to your next meeting because of timeliness. Doug, did you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, this is, like Andy said, this is a typical boilerplate legislation that we have to pass for every LPA project that receives funding through either ODOT or the federal government, which is both in this case. The final amount of the urban paving funding portion of this will be determined once bids are received. But basically, ODOT locks down these projects and the federal funding the first week of December. And that's why, as Andy said, I need to get this before you guys at least at the Monday meeting so that I can get it back to them. It's not a contract where it ties us to a certain dollar amount other than like a bid would, but it is something that we have to do at all our LPA projects.
Okay. The next 4 items on the agenda are resolutions regarding the paving program that started in 2018 and finished in 2019.
Correct.
Do we want to do first readings, or do we just make sure? Table?
First readings,
Okay.
unless you want to table, entirely up to the chair.
We'll take a motion on resolution 2019-72 for our first reading.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Artino,
I move the resolution 2019-72 be placed on its first reading.
any discussion on the motion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Martino,
Yes.
Crawford.
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Hardy.
Yes.
Resolution number 2019-72, resolution amending resolution 2018-66, adopted August 14th, 2018, authorizing the city manager to accept change order number 1 from Smith Paving and Excavating for labor and materials related to the expansion of the 2018 road paving program, part 1, in an increased amount not to exceed $19,386.81 out of $100.
Mr. White?
I would recognize Mr. Green again, and also I'd like to note Smith Paving is in attendance as well. This was a significant undertaking for the city, as this project essentially incorporated 2 calendar years worth of resurfacing into one. And the modifications of the contract are necessary because we came into in-site field conditions that required modification, as we are used to in most of these types of jobs. But nothing compared to what you look at the summary for resolution 2018-52. Change order number 1 was for $1,380,000. That's when we expanded the program. We're not looking at that kind of impact tonight. But Doug, if you could walk us through that first change order, please.
Yep, and this, I guess this description would go for change order 72 through 75. If you remember back, this project was split into 2 halves, part 1 and part 2. And the reason for that being part 1 is the Rye Beach neighborhood. We received OPWC funding for that section only, so we had to administratively split it into 2 projects. As Andy mentioned on day 1 when we started this project, we roughly doubled the size of the scope of the work to the point where it was, the total was just over, I believe, $2.6 million. It's the largest local street program that the city's ever attempted. Since the time we originally bid this out in 2017 until we finished the summer of this year, there were additional panels that had cracked in that time frame. There were underground structures such as catch basins and manholes that, when tried to adjust, found they were defective and needed to be rebuilt. And there were also some unforeseen underground conditions that were developed Over on Beechwood Cove, for instance, we found a section of storm sewer that had collapsed over the years that we were able to replace. Looking at this from kind of a top-down view, it's about with the change order, it's about a $2.7 million project, and the change orders, all four of these added together represent about a 2.9% increase in the total project.
Mr. Aquino, question?
Do you anticipate any more change orders?
No, sir.
At the end?
These are the, and I should have mentioned that, these are the final change orders that we go through, plus or minus at the end of every project, going through all the project line items and zeroing out.
We're gonna get to the total.
Quantities.
We can add them up, but what's the ultimate, the total here for the four?
For all four added together, it is $81,000 and change. And it represents, like I said, just over 2% of the project.
Any other questions on that one? I will move that, resolution 2019-73, an additional change order be placed on its first reading. Any discussion on that motion? Will clerk please call the roll?
Hardy,
Yes.
Martino,
Yes.
Crawford.
Yes.
Jones.
Resolution number 2019-73, a resolution amending resolution 2018-66, adopted August 14, 2018, authorizing the city manager to accept change order number 2 from Smith Paving and Excavating for labor and materials related to the expansion of the 2018 road paving program part 1 in an increased amount not to exceed $3,675 and $00 to $100.
Mr. White or Mr. Green, anything to add?
I move that resolution 2019-74 be placed on its first reading.
Any discussion on that motion? Will clerk please call the roll?
Jones.
Yes.
Hardy.
Yes.
Martino,
Yes.
Crawford.
Yes.
Resolution number 2019-74, a resolution amending resolution 2018-30, adopted April 10th, 2018, authorizing the city manager to accept change order number 2 from Smith Paving and Excavating for labor and materials related to the expansion of the 2018 road paving program part 2 in an increased amount not to exceed $15,283 and $22 out of $100.
Mr. Green and Mr. White, any further comment?
No, sir.
Okay, resolution 2019-75, Ms. Crawford.
Mr. Mayor, I move that resolution 2019-75 be placed on its first reading.
Any discussion on the motion? Will clerk please call the roll?
Crawford.
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Hardy.
Yes.
Martino.
Yes.
Resolution number 2019-75, a resolution amending resolution 2018-30, adopted April 10th, 2018, authorizing the city manager to accept change order number 3 from Smith Paving and Excavating for labor and materials related to the expansion of the 2018 road paving program, part 2, in an increased amount not to exceed $43,378 and $95 out of $100.
If there's nothing further, the chair will entertain a motion on ordinance 2019-28 for the first reading for appropriations. Ms. Crawford.
I would like to move that ordinance 2019-28 be placed on its first reading, please.
Any discussion on the motion? The clerk please call the roll.
Crawford.
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Hardy.
Yep.
Martino.
Yes.
Ordinance number 2019-28, an ordinance amending ordinance number 2018-36, adopted December 11, 2018, to provide for additional appropriations for the general fund and other funding sources, and an increase in estimated resources, and further approving cash transfers between funds and declaring an emergency.
Mr. Swayze.
This is specifically related to the change orders for the paving program. So, this resolution will be pending approval next meeting, with the appropriate numbers on council, to increase appropriations for $85,000, which, as Mr. Green said, the change orders come out to be a little over $81,000. So there is sufficient fund balance in Fund 401, which this will be paid out of, or it has been paid out of.
Any further discussion? Moving on to the city manager's discussion. Mr. White.
In the interest of the Thanksgiving holiday and out of respect for our public in attendance tonight, I'll be brief. First, I would like to recognize there are members from the Huron Boosters Club here this evening, the Huron City Schools, and Uchi Farms, on behalf of a special announcement they would like to make on a community-based project. I would like Ajit, if you wanted to come in, but we got them.
Well, good evening, everybody. We're really happy to be here. My name is Ajit Saxena. I'm the Public Relations and Digital Marketing Manager at Lucci Farms. We've been, for the past couple of years since we got here, we've really been trying to figure out how to just sort of get settled in before we got involved with the community. Huron is very similar to our home base, which is Kingsville, Ontario. And we know what a local sports team can do for a community. We come from a similar small community. Obviously in Canada, hockey is really, really big. And here, football probably takes a similar space. So we're really, really excited to be a part of this program. We know that this way we contribute to the youth as well, and just kind of sink into the community and see some common ground and just settle in and be a part of this. And it's hard to do that when we're just doing business. So as we've settled in and as we do more things, I think it'll help us feel a bit more part of the community. So we're very excited to be here, and we're very happy to work with the Boosters and with the Tigers, and very excited for their upcoming season.
Yeah, I just wanted to add just a thank you to the Mucci family. We had a great day today at 4 o'clock. We had our school board, our boosters, members of Mucci, BCSN and the Register. We had a great group that came out today. The weather was perfect, and we took some pictures, did some interviews, and I'm really excited to start this project. And it's been great to get to know you and Bert and Dave, and I think this is going to be a great thing for our community. It's exciting. This will hopefully start, I would say, end of May, beginning of June. It's going to take 20 days, and just those 20 days, I think it's going to be exciting for a lot of little kids that like trucks. So there's going to be a lot of exciting. It's going to be fun summer, it really is. So we can't thank Mucci enough for working with us. I'm pretty excited about it, and I can't thank Andy White and Brad Hartong as well as to get this going. So it's exciting.
And we appreciate the warm welcome, and I think with everybody that we've communicated with since we've been here, everybody's been very warm and friendly, and really helped our transition into the community. So thank you.
And our school board presidents, our superintendent, he's here, Denny Moratori as well. Yeah, he's an attendant.
We met earlier today. Thank
you.
you.
Yeah. So.
Just for the sake of folks who may not have heard, would you share what is actually happening?
Oh, yes. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes. Mucci Field is going to be our new stadium field sponsor. You can kind of see a sign right there. It's got their logo right there on the field. We're going to be changing all the steeples where the Tigers are. There's 3 steeples, 4 signs on each side. Those are all going to be changed out as well. And as everyone sees the big, huge sign that's in the side of our home stands. You can't see it in this picture, but that's going to be changed out as well. So yeah, it's exciting. We do, it'll be fun. Once this goes in, I'd like to do another. For sure. Do another, invite at the stadium. I'd love to invite the community out to come out and see it too as well. Or maybe we'll have some Halloweenies or something, some kind of food. I don't know. We'll do some kind of party. So.
Well, and also be pleased to know that Mr. Mucci had a conversation. He had identified some upgrades to City Hall that we were talking about earlier. I just wanted to add to one of the great benefits of working in a small community is the relationships. In just about the time it will take for this field project to be completed, we had a communication network of a few people that got this decision through the school board, committed to by the Booster Club, and signed off on by Mr. Mucci, I think because of the proximity of this community. It was really fun to work on, so I commend everyone for letting me be a part of it, and just a great deal going into this holiday season. I did want to not understate the work that went into the 2020 budget, and it's the work of a lot of people, but the coordination and direction under Mr. Swaysgood has put the city on a path to define its financial position for the next decade. That's something we've tried ardently to do in the past, and we've come close, but the comprehensive nature core that you were able to oversee was excellent, and I wanted to recognize that. Without his leadership, I don't think that would have happened at the department head level, and the way we've incorporated everything, it just kind of tied off the administrative team, so really glad to have you aboard. Also wanted to acknowledge Smith Paving. I had talked about the amount of work that we coordinated over a 2-year period. I was very impressed with the work that you had done out there, so I want to get that on the record. And then finally, as you may know, this past week was a bit challenging, and I lost a close member of my family. But just wanted to reach out and thank you all, staff, council, and those of you who reached out to help me through the last week. I was absent a little bit. You'd be happy to know that we didn't miss a beat, and so thank you for that. That's all I had.
Okay, mayor's discussion will be short. Again, I want to thank Mr. Jones for his months of service here filling in. Wish everyone coming on a warm welcome. We're excited to get going after the first year, and obviously start doing some stuff next week with the new team up here. Happy holidays to everyone, and be safe. We'll start over here with Mr. Artino.
I want to wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving and enjoy that time with the family. Thank you.
Mr. Jones?
Yeah, I'll be briefer than I was originally planning, but I do want everybody to know that it's really been a privilege to sit up here and have this opportunity the last 4 months. I appreciate it, and I really have enjoyed it. It's somewhat of an eye-opener, but I was fortunate enough to be in the audience for quite a while, so not a whole lot of surprises, but you're gonna see me out there again. I'm not going away, people desire it perhaps. I'm really appreciative of staff, for sure. I don't wanna name them all because I'll forget somebody, and I don't wanna do that. Everybody's been just extremely welcoming and helpful. Mr. Swaysgood, I think the opportunity for me to be on the finance committee is gonna be very helpful as I move to the school board in January. So I really appreciate that opportunity to have that assignment too. And so I'll cut it short, just also want to thank Mucci Farms, Bert and Dave, and for being here and for your amazing support. The boosters and the school board for putting something like together. And obviously Mr. White for your valuable input. Thank you so much.
Ms. Crawford?
I also want to thank Mucci Farms, and well done. It's wonderful to witness community collaborations. It really is. It's one of the things that makes this small town the place that we love so much. Happy Thanksgiving to everyone. Remember your local businesses. Shop small Saturday. Again, our small town is growing with a lot of excitement, and safe travels to all of you. And Mr. Jones, it's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
And